Hi, my name is Dr. Myava Clark, and I help parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children by providing emotional support and practical tools without burnout as they guide their children toward meaningful friendships where their children are truly celebrated for who they are and not just tolerated, all while helping them to prevent their children from being bullied. Neurodivergent refers to the way an individual's brain processes information, learns, or behaves what is considered different than normal or neurotypical. And neurodivergent is just an umbrella term that includes different diagnoses like autism, ADHD, and dyslexia. So today, I'm just going to talk about me. I want you to get to know me and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Well, I am a wife and mother of two adult children. I I clinical experience has been in hospitals in and around Philadelphia, and the majority of the time was spent for almost 26 years at the Children's Hospital Philadelphia. I have worked as a clinical instructor and a lab specialist for over 20 years, and I enjoy what I do. I am now a college professor and a program director of a degree advancement respiratory therapy program. I like what I do. As a respiratory therapist, a new survey just came out, and respiratory is the number four on the list for healthcare professions currently. So it is a growing field. You may have heard a lot about respiratory during COVID-19 when coronavirus was in effect. Respiratory therapist was on the front line because we manage the ventilators and the breathing for those patients. Um, as a author, I am now working on my eighth book, and, and my very first book was titled Help Support for Parents of Children with Learning and Thinking Differences to Feel Confident, Capable, and Fulfilled. This book is based on 25 years of experience that I had with my son. It was dealing with his process, and that's what started it all off. And later, I wrote a collaboration book with 12 co-authors called The Parent and Caregiver's Guide: Overcoming the Odds of Disabilities, Medical Challenges, Mental Health Disorders, and Trauma. And then again, I have several other books, including Levels of Faith faith for one season may be different than faith for another season. So now I'm going to um, give you a little more insight in how I became a parent empowerment and child safety advocate. Well, Chris has two first cousins. One is 3 months older, and one was is 6 weeks older than him. So as he was growing, he was a toddler. We noticed, my husband and I noticed that Chris wasn't able to do some of the things that his cousins were able to do, or he wasn't able to do them as well. So we expressed our concerns to our family, and everyone told us that children work at their own pace and not to be concerned because he was fine. As time progressed, and we noticed that things still seemed a little different, we decided to have him tested because we didn't think um everything could just be a coincidence and that he was working at his own pace. So we decided to have Chris tested. And we he was tested at the age of 2.5 and by the intermediate unit, and it was deemed that he needed early intervention. So we got him early intervention because he did have, in fact, some developmental delays. I encourage all parents, if you suspect something or if someone is telling you that they suspect there may be a delay with your child, I'm encouraging you to please get your child tested. The worst thing that can happen is that you were right and in saying that nothing's wrong with your child if someone else is asking you to have them tested. And that's the worst thing that can happen. You could say, I was right, there's nothing wrong. But what if there is something, I won't say wrong, but what if there is a delay? Wouldn't you rather have your child seen and receive the services that they need sooner rather than later? Because the sooner you get them the services that they need, the sooner they can start closing that gap between them and their peers. And I just encourage everyone to do that. And if your school is pushing for this testing and you think there's some kind of conspiracy and the school is just trying to get money from you, from the system to label your child, then instead of ignoring it, why don't you hire your own independent consultant to test your child? And that way you will have your mind at ease and know and being able to trust the independent person if you're not able to trust the school system. But I am living proof that getting intervention sooner rather than later can make the difference for your child. So I highly advocate for that. So as a respiratory therapist, I decided to go back to school and I earned my master's in elementary education. I thought I wanted to be an elementary school teacher because when I had my children, I would be able to be home with them in the summertime and everything. What really happened is I chose elementary education because I was, in fact, intimidated by adults. I was afraid to teach adults because I said, well, what if they ask me a question that I don't know? Or what if they challenge me? And when I discovered that that was my fear, what did I do? I became a college professor. I refuse to be held back by anyone, especially by myself. And what I've learned to do is run toward my fear instead of away from it. So the moment I realized I wanted to be an elementary school teacher because I was afraid and intimidated by adults was the moment I decided I wanted to teach adults. And thank God because now that has been, I am in my 23rd year of teaching adults. Um, so that is Chris. He, in fact, when he went to school, he needed an IEP. He went from early intervention to going to school and getting an IEP. An IEP is an individualized education plan or individualized education program. And I'm grateful for this. And between my college education and elementary education and this plan, which required Chris to receive physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, what happened is I never taught elementary school, but God gave me the tools that I needed, and I was able to use them for my son to help close the gap between him and his typically developing peers. So I'm grateful. Nothing is wasted and nothing is in vain. All the education that I received, who knew that I was going to need it for my children and not for other people's children. So the book that I wrote, again, Help, support for children, for support for parents of children with learning and thinking differences to feel capable and fulfilled. That book is based on 25 years of experience with Chris, with the special education system. I start off by telling my story and how we suspected it was something that needed to be investigated because he wasn't doing things the way his cousins were doing. And it goes into diagnosis, it goes into um, his schooling and how we had to advocate for him because they wanted to give him more services than he needed. And we knew he needed services, but we didn't want more than he needed. We wanted what was appropriate for him. And I went round and round with his teacher at the time because when he was entering first grade, he was adding and subtracting at home. And when he entered first grade, his teacher just wanted him to sort. And I said, but he's adding and subtracting. She said, well, we just want him to sort. And I fought for my child because I said, look, I want you to raise the bar and make him jump. And if he can't hit the bar every time, it's okay. But what we're not going to do is lower the bar so he can hit it every time and have false sense of security or false sense of success. And that's the way we parented. We always wanted Chris to 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 aim high and to try hard. And we worked with him to meet that bar. Sometimes he hit it and sometimes he didn't, but we worked with him. We wanted him to keep trying. And that's what worked for us. And the book goes into all of that and how they didn't think that he would ever get to go to college, or they tried to talk to us about getting him a certificate. And we said, no, he can do the work. And he did the work and he graduated with a high school diploma. Not only did he graduate with a high school diploma, he went to a 2-year college. He did okay. Some things he struggled in, some things he did a little easier, just as he did all the way through school. Chris has a couple more courses to get his degree. He stopped during in 2020 during COVID, and he hasn't gone back yet to finish, but I know that he will. So, to the parents out there, if someone is telling you no and you know your child is capable and able, you advocate for them. And if you don't know how to advocate, reach out to me and I will support you through that. I will help you navigate that space because I've done it. and I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. And I didn't have someone like me to help me when I was going through it in real time. My husband and I felt like it was us against the world, when we went to those meetings, sitting at a table with 12 educators and administrators and specialists, and just us advocating for our child. But at first, they thought they wanted to say we were difficult because we wouldn't just roll over and accept anything without an explanation or anything. But they learned that we weren't trying to be difficult parents. We were advocating for what was best for our child. And that's what we did. And it worked. And by after a while, the superintendent for special education became like our biggest supporters and our biggest advocate, because she understood that we weren't being difficult. We were advocating, and she supported us in it. And we love her to this day. And my son is 28, and she still holds a special place in my heart because she understood and she believed in us, and she fought for my child and didn't just even when the educator said let's do this, she heard us out, and then we had a discussion, and we appreciated that. So I support anyone who needs support through the process, because it's not easy. I have been in a crowded room and felt alone because people didn't understand. I didn't feel like people understood what we were going through. My family, oh my gosh, we have a loving family, both on both sides, very supportive, and they were cheerleaders for us, but they couldn't relate and reach back and pull us. And sometimes that made me feel lonely or misunderstood, even though I was loved. And that's another reason why I'm a parent empowerment advocate, because I know what it feels like. I know what that journey feels like. And I don't want anyone to feel alone on that journey. And to further this is why I came up with the book collaboration, The Parent and Caregiver's Guide, Overcoming the Odds of Disabilities, Medical Challenges, Mental Health Disorders, and Trauma. I came up with that because I found 12 co-authors to write a chapter of the book with me to further support parents, to give them yet another tool to help them on their parenting journey. This book, the first 12 the first six authors are parents telling their story, and the second six authors are professionals answering the same questions that the parents answer. So it's a very well-rounded book. And you would think that it would be a heavy read because of all of the stories. It's one of the most positive, uplifting books because everyone in that book understood that there is purpose in the pain, and we all wanted to give back and help someone else along. And we're grateful for the journey. We're grateful for where our children are and everything. Very, very positive book with resources. Both books have resources and tools. Help has, because it's written from a parent perspective, but as an educator, I have over 100 references in that book. There is a reference list in the back of the book that you can go to and find the sources that I found the information and read directly from the source. There's also a glossary of terms in this book that you can go to and go to my website, print out the glossary, and take that list with you to IEP meetings. So when they talk to you at a meeting, you can say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know what this is, and look it up. It's there to support you. The Parent and Caregivers Guide, all of the professionals Well, I won't say all, but the professionals and parents had resources to give, and they listed them in their individual chapters. But at the back of the book, I wrote all of the resources down, so you can literally just have them all in one place and get the help that you need. My daughter um, was actually gifted in AP courses. She's extremely bright, loved to read, was at the opposite end of the spectrum in school to my son. My son had some special education classes, he had some resource room classes, and he had some regular ed classes. He was complex. It wasn't one size fits all for him, so we had to advocate to get him in the right classes that he needed. My daughter was actually, we had to advocate for her to get her in these AP and gifted classes because she was bored. And so, but then guess what? She developed medical challenges, which required her to need a 504 plan. So we dealt with the special education system on both spectrums, a IEP as well as a 504 plan. That's another reason why I'm a parent advocate and child safety advocate, a parent empowerment and child safety advocate. Okay. Um, I am working on book number 8. I realized a, l- a lot of what I went through wasn't just for me, it was for me to share to help someone else along. I am a I am into physical fitness. I absolutely love taking care of my body. In 2021, I actually did a figure model contest. And I was 21 years older than the next competitor. And I was able to get my body in shape and feel really good about myself and be on stage. Best shape of my life. And then 3 months later, I had an emergency appendectomy. I had my appendix removed emergently. 6 weeks after that, I had a hernia repair. Um, After two abdominal surgeries, I developed issues, which is gastrointestinal issues. I struggled. It took me 10 months to get my digestive system in check. I wasn't able to work out. Um, that was very, I probably was going through some mild depression during that time because I love working out and I wasn't able to. And then I was sore, and it's just a lot going on. But I'm grateful to say that I am healed. My body is in check. I am able to work out again. During that process, I gained like 30 pounds, and I am in the process of working it off. I still have some to go, and I think I'm going to train again to do another contest. Not because I have to, but because I want to, because I want to will my mind to get my body back in shape. So I am a very driven person. I am self-motivated, but on top of everything that I just said to you, when my son was in his freshman year in college, my husband asked him, "What do you wish you had that you didn't have that could help kids today?" And he said, "I wish someone would have taught me how to be appropriate on social media." You see, when my son was 14, he wanted a social media account. We did not think he was mature enough or ready for social media. And we told him no. But guess what? He did it anyway. Just like some of your children may do it anyway and you not know it. How did we find out he did it? Because the same day he opened his Facebook account, I was his first friend request. And to me, that showed that he wasn't savvy enough for it, because he was socially, emotionally a little behind his peers. So I talked to my husband. Instead of us making him take it down, we allowed him to keep it. We became his friends. My husband's friends became his friends. And it was very tough process and road and journey for my son on social media. During the 2012 election, he supported President Obama and he voiced his opinion. He was bullied by adults on social media. He was called the N word. Oh my goodness, it was just horrible. And my husband and his friends were there to navigate that space because they kept a close eye on it. And my husband would tell him, take this down. And see, what happened was Chris would accept friends and request friends from people he didn't know. And that's how he got with all these adults. And my husband had to teach him how to block people, how to unfriend people, and all of this. So that's why my son said he wanted to create something to help children online that may not have had the village that he had. And he came to me and asked me if I could help him develop an app. I said yes, without knowing what I was doing, without knowing how or where. I already told you I'm a respiratory therapist, college instructor. Um, I had no knowledge of tech. So after telling yes, I went to the computer and I prayed and I asked Holy Spirit to help guide me because I had no clue as to what I was doing. And I researched what the gap was in education and came up with social and emotional learning. And then I was directed to a third party site that allows you to create an app. And I did. So then Chris and I went to his school, met with the superintendent of special ed, showed her what we created. She loved it, but she showed us where we needed to improve. We went back to her three separate times and kept improving it. And then after the third round, I had nowhere else to go with this app. So we hired web designers and app developers to help us with this. So it is called CASEN. Our business is CASEN, Collaborative Advancement for Social and Emotional Needs. And I am so super duper duper excited to tell you about CASEN Connect. CASEN Connect is that bridge that will take a child from not knowing how to use or be responsible on social media, educate them, empower them with the tools and the self-confidence to be protected. We teach them how to identify bullying. We teach them if they're being bullied. We teach them if they're witnessing bullying. We teach them if they are, in fact, the bully. We also teach them how to report it, who a trusted adult is, all while building them up on this platform where they are learning how to communicate with their peers and teachers, right? All online. This is such a huge, I believe with all of my heart that this is the answer to the dark web. I believe with all of my heart that when this gets rolling and parents embrace this, that one of the big social media platforms is going to want to talk to us. And the reason why they're going to want to meet with us is because we lived it. We aren't just creators. We have lived through this. This was based and developed off of a need from my child. It was his idea, a gap that he discovered, and I helped him implement. I am so proud of this, and I'm so proud to say that tomorrow I am having an information session for parents. We started out with children 9 to 13, but as we were doing focus groups, we were told that children younger needed to get this information because they were getting on social media younger. So we have two different platforms, 6 to 8 and 9 to 13. It's the same information, different skill level, different. The information is broken down differently for the two groups. It is so powerful, such a powerful tool. We have safeguards in place where if they try to use an inappropriate word, it'll get flagged and they're told why they can't. Every single post they make has to be approved by a teacher, either casing facilitator, or if a teacher does it with her group, or a psychologist or a therapist, because we license it out for people to use with their groups, or homeschool community can use it as well. But every post has to be approved by a human who looks at it and reads it to make sure that there isn't something underlying or sneaky to it. And then we use it as teachable moments for children if it's not appropriate. And so if you want to participate on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have a parent information session at 6:30 p.m. And at 8 o'clock p.m., there will be a master class on what your children are really facing online. So Thursday is going to be very impactful and informative for parents and caregivers or educators. So join us so you can see what we're doing to disrupt the dark web, what we're doing to empower the children and the parents, because everything we're teaching the children, we're actually teaching the parents so they can continue the conversation and further impact and empower their children. So I'm super excited about this, super excited about what's coming, and sharing more with you later. Again, my name is Dr. Myava Clark, and I help parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children by providing emotional support and practical tools without burnout while they guide their children toward meaningful friendships where they are celebrated and not just tolerated, all while preventing them from being bullied. And it's not just Case and Connect is not just for neurodivergent children, it's for all children, but we focus on neurodivergent because we believe that they are some of the more impressionable and more vulnerable population. Until the next time, I'll see you later. Bye.